Resume. All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rev Up. This is module 3, and we are talking about building, managing, and working your database. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me, but we're going to just kind of go through and talk about how important it is to build and manage your database, because essentially your database is your business in real estate. It is for a lot of different businesses, but definitely for real estate, it's about who you know, the people you connect with, keeping your name in front of them. All right, so we're going to talk about why your database is the foundation of your business. The irrefutable laws of managing your database, using the circles of opportunities to build your database, and how to get predictable business from your database. All right. We're also going to utilize Client Relationship Manager, which you are provided for, called Sync with Realty One Group Revolution. All right. You guys should have all that information as far as onboarding. If you have any questions or anything about it, let us know. Hopefully you've had some lessons. They've also got some great tutorials. So if you feel like you need to brush up on anything, you can also do a lot of that, behind the scenes too. Why an online presence is important and how to create and maintain your online presence. So the core values of your business, obviously, part of any business is business planning. All right. Figuring out how much do you want to make. All right. It does take time to start building it up, but we want to make sure that you have a steady stream of business that really comes from leads, people you're talking to, building that business so that then, it becomes an asset. All right. A lot of people, when they leave real estate, they can sell their business, and and it's basically what they're doing is they're selling their database. They're selling their clientele. So if you build it, you do it right. You can use this throughout your career in real estate. You also can have it as your legacy and your exit strategy, so that you've got something. A lot of people think that when you just leave real estate, when you stop selling, you stop making any money. And that's not necessarily the case. All right. Any questions so far? Anybody got anything? Okay. All right. So what can a good database really deliver for you? All right. So one, it's solid referrals, consistent and reliable revenue. And I will say this is actually completely accurate when it takes 6 to 12 months to season a contact. So you have people that you already know. All right. Making sure that they know you're in real estate. All right. Keeping in contact with them. Making sure that, because people, a lot of times it's not that they would not want to refer business to you. They just have to be thinking of you when not only they have a need, but maybe somebody else that they know has a need. So it's keeping in contact with people. And there's lots of ways you can do it. Sync actually has a lot of things built in for you that you can set up campaigns. You can keep your name in front of people, and just make sure that you're keeping in contact. All right. So, how building your plan. All right. What's the right numbers? How many people do you need to know? How many connections do you have, or what types of connections? How often should you be contacting them? What are connections going to cost you? All right. Keeping in contact with people. There's lots of different ways you can do it. Some are more expensive than others. But the biggest key, and just keep in mind, one of your biggest goal with your database is to stay top of mind with all of your friends, family, contacts, connections, etc. All right. As far as business planning, part of it is creating a roadmap for your success. We do provide you tools for business planning too. All right. So that you can decide how much do you want to make, and then figure out, there's a way to kind of figure out how much you want to make, because it is unlimited, and then back that down so that you're putting in the right activities. Activities will generate the business for you. Even when you don't see the results right away, it's something, again, you're staying top of mind. And so a lot of times what we're doing today results in business, whether it's 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road. It's building and maintaining a pipeline. All right. Keeping track of your results is very important. You want to make sure that you keep everything accountable, make sure that you know where your business is coming from. That way, if you're dedicating too much to something that's not producing results, you can make a course correction, partway through. That way you don't keep throwing away something or, putting your efforts in the wrong place. All right. The 4 irrefutable laws of any database. All right. 1, build it. 2, feed it daily. 3, nurture it. And 4, maintain it. All right. So we will actually go through these a little bit more, but building the database is definitely key. Feeding it, keeping in contact with it, nurturing it, and making sure that it's maintained are all keys to successful business. All right. Building your database. All right. So you'll kind of notice that we've got some circles here. The inner circle is really your sphere of influence. All right. These are the people that that know you, that would love, they would love nothing more to help you out in business. Now, this circle can kind of be a little bit tricky sometimes too. Sometimes they say, do you want to do business with family? Do you want to do business with friends? That part's tricky, but these guys are your biggest advocates. So the more they know what you're doing, the more activities they know, they're going to then send you referrals. And so really you want to make sure that you're focusing a little bit in each of these 3 areas, but to get started, really focus on, if you can. All right. So it kind of depends. Sometimes you're moving to a new area. Sometimes you don't know a lot of people. So depending upon those things, you may have to set up a little bit of a strategy to figure out which of these rings do you want to put your efforts into, which 2 of these rings, or do you want to focus on all 3? But the center is really your sphere of influence. That's your advocates. Those are the people that are they're your go-to. All right. So you've got your friends, your family, and any past clients. Now, if real estate is a new career for you and you've had something else you've been doing beforehand, that actually, those past clients, I would make sure that they know what you're doing now, because even if it was another business prior, it's still people that they know you, they know your ethics, they know how hard you work. If they know what you're doing, chances are, those are people you can get referrals from too. So past clients can be good. When it comes to your second ring, all right, that you're connected, but you've had no business from them yet. All right. These are areas such as people from church. All right. Your medical professionals, neighbors, family activities or groups, social media, past coworkers, other businesses that you use. All right. And any community and civic activities. I know Erin is involved in political activities in Mint Hill. She's very involved locally. So she actually, that generates business for her. Surprisingly enough, other businesses that you use, make sure they know what you're doing. All right. When I say that, first one that comes to mind for me right now is my CPA. All right. I actually have a listing getting ready to close actually this afternoon. And it was my CPA that we've been doing business with for 15 years. So people that make sure they know what you do. Yes, it seems like everybody knows a realtor, but the more you stay top of mind, the more referrals you will get. All right. So that's your second ring.
Also, Michelle, just last Friday or last week, a school called me in to sub because they're desperate for subs. And I went in there and she's like, "Oh, can you come in here? I have a couple days next week, and she's like, "I promise if you sub for us," she's like, leave some of your business cards with me and I'll make sure that I put them out, people see it. So you never know.
Well, you never know. The local dry cleaner that I use, they've got a couple business cards there. You just never know. And it never hurts to ask. People need to know what you're doing. This is a people business. All right. This is not business to business. Yes, some can come from that, but a lot of it is people. So the more people the bigger you can count your sphere, the more business you're going to get. And this is business that can come from you naturally. All right. These first 2 rings this is effort. All right. So I was told a long time ago in real estate, when it comes to building your business, you can spend time or you can spend money, or you can spend a combination of both. These first two rings really are mostly time. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to use these first two rings to build your database. The outside rings do get a little bit more costly because, you know, if you're doing advertising and farming and different things, but these first two rings can really be helpful, and they don't cost a lot of money. It's more of your time. So you decide what works best for you, time or money, or a combination of both. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, so then our third ring, these are people that are not connected with us at all. All right, these are people, we're just going to find them, whether it is signs, you know, calls from a sign. If you have a listing, all right, and you get a call sign. If you are farming a neighborhood, all right, so there's different ways to farm a neighborhood. You can walk the neighborhoods with flyers and meet people, getting a little colder to do that, but still doable. You can do direct mail and advertising to a community. With farming and direct mail, online ads, some of your online ads you can do less expensively. Some of them are a little bit more expensive. Your website, which, you know, Roger actually provides for you, any networking groups that you might belong to, or cold calling. All right. Can anybody get what thoughts come to your mind when it comes to cold calling? Who would you imagine that you're calling?
People you don't know. Or...
Exactly. Well, and sometimes, I mean, as you get started, it might be expired listings, which right now there's not a whole lot of those. But yeah, so as you can see, I mean, the outside ring is really people that you're not connected with. This is good filler. I mean, this is but you have less control over the results of this one. All right, so this one is it's when you get the information or the leads, it's great. These can also be, you know, local events. I mean, Erin and I actually did a local event here a couple of weeks ago, and we participated in Mint Hill Madness. And I mean, she led the charge on that one, and we ended up with several leads, which we hope will turn into something. But it's people for our database. So as you meet people and you're talking to people, add them to your database and keep in contact with them. All right, so any questions on our rings here so far? Make sense? Awesome. Okay, so next is really building your database. Now that we've kind of figured out areas that you can bring people in and you can gather names, you can gather contact information. Now you want to categorize them, okay? Separate your contacts by type so that you can send different messages to different groups. Okay, so for example, the community activity that Erin and I participated in, all right, we actually have that group of people categorized in a specific manner, one being where they came from, so that we can communicate with that group specifically and not necessarily to everybody else. So having categorized them, we know where they came from. Now we have to go a little bit further and subcategorize them. Are they interested in buying or selling, or do we not know? All right, so you want to organize them, categorize them so that you can communicate. Sync gives you the opportunity to, you know, communicate with different groups of people in different ways. All right, and here is, I mean, there's a script for you if you need, you know, to have a little script. If you are talking to people, if you are walking a neighborhood and you meet somebody, this is just a real quick little, you know, hello, my name is Michelle. From time to time, I run across useful information about the real, you know, could be, you know, the Matthews real estate market. It could be Fort Mill real estate market. So you guys pick and choose, but just knowing a little, when people meet you, you might be sitting in a coffee shop, sitting on your laptop, and someone says, excuse me, you know, are you, I see you running, you know, you're looking up properties. Are you a realtor? You never know when you're going to meet somebody that you have an opportunity for. Always ask for their contact information rather than offering them yours. So I know we all have business cards and it's nice to be able to hand them out. But if you just give out a business card and you don't collect their information, you don't have an opportunity to communicate with them and keep that top of mind awareness. All right. Another company I used to work for, we used to call it TOMA, top of mind awareness. Make sure you always can, I mean, at any time possible, that you're able to communicate with people on your terms, because then you can control. Yes, I want to communicate with them monthly or quarterly. I mean, you decide, but if you don't gather their information, you're not able to do that. All right. Be consistent with your messages. All right. You want to make sure that you are on, I mean, consistency is key. So whether you're farming a neighborhood, sending information to your database, anything, you've got to stay consistent with it. Branding your messages so that they know it's you. All right. And keeping in contact with your personal connections. So have a systematic way of following up with people, whether it's, seasonal, whether it's, I mean, I kind of have a good rule of thumb. My rule of thumb is I like to communicate with everybody in my database at least once a month by either email or mail, and then call everybody quarterly. I mean, you don't want to be a pest, but I just kind of like to call, check in on people, see how they're doing, see if they need anything, but have a plan that works for you guys. So set something up, put in a plan, because real estate has a tendency of when things are really busy, and you get 2 or 3 deals going, you're working with 3 or 4 buyers, you're in the car, you're working on a listing, you have a tendency to get busy. And then sometimes your database suffers because you're not continuing to add to it. So the important thing is to dedicate time to what we call lead generation, and make that time that whether you're cold calling new people, or you're walking a neighborhood, or you're just calling and checking in on family, friends, connections, past clients, all the people in those rings, have a purpose. Be purposeful with your communication and your lead generation. And if you dedicate time to it each week, all right, whether you're busy or not, even if it's a couple hours a week, I promise it will give you results in the end. And if something comes up, because things always do, if you have to erase it on your calendar, just replace it. All right. So if something came up and you usually call everybody or do your lead generation on Thursday mornings or Friday afternoons or whatever the day is, if something came up and you missed it, maybe then, add double the time, put in more time next week. All right. Or better yet, if your lead generation time is Monday or Tuesday, add it back in Thursday or Friday, Wednesday. Just make sure you replace that time, because that will build your database, build your communication, and it will eliminate a lot of the peaks and valleys that we can get in real estate. All right. Any questions? Anybody have anything? All right. So as far as nurturing your database, so one of the things, if you haven't already, sit down and whether you use Sync and you like electronic, whether you like a spreadsheet with Excel, whether you want to create little 5x5, business little cards. And so it doesn't matter to me whether you like electronic, paper, whatever it works for you. Come up with a system of keeping track of listing all of your clients, all of your different databases, all right, your categories, organize them so that you can start communicating with them and have a systematic way to do it. So initially you want to send out an announcement letter or email or postcard, even a handwritten note, or a personal call, just to follow up and just kind of communicate with people, let people know what you're doing. I had moved out of Charlotte for 5 years and didn't think we were coming back. Life happens. My husband and I moved back almost 2 years ago. I hadn't communicated. I lost touch with my database, silly me, because I didn't think we were coming back. So when I came back, I actually did a handwritten note card to all of my past clients and all of my vendors, people I knew, and started trying to communicate with them just to let them know I was back. I'm here if there's anything at all that you guys need. And then just kind of started calling, checking in, not asking for business at that point, just really reconnecting with people. So it takes time. But it does, it all works out. It all works out in the end. And you'll find that things happen. One client you may just get a client in a house and you think, okay, well, I don't need to do anything with that client. They're going to be there for 5 or 10 years. Not necessarily the case. And the better experience they have with you, the more communication they have, they're going to want to send more business to you. All right. So this is just kind of getting you started, nurturing your database, picking it up. Include some sort of social media plan. All right. Whether it's, they kind of say it's better to, and I'm not a big social media guru myself. A lot of people, Tommy's got a business Facebook page. I think he's got a business Instagram. I know Roger does. I kind of still am more on the personal side. So I don't have business websites or business social media plans, but I mean, everybody's different. You have to work with what works for you. I'm a little bit more old school. So I'm a little bit more of the touchy-feely versus the electronics. So you come up with, but a good rule of thumb for social media is, 3 comments daily, 3 likes, like other people's stuff. All right. And then a post per week. All right. So, it's keeping your name out there. It's putting you out there a little bit, whether you advertise a lot, you put a lot of posts up there, but when it's your personal page, be careful not to put too much business out there connecting with your personal people. You don't want them to start you don't want them to reject. So be careful with your personal stuff to start. All right. Set up time, to make your databases, make time to do it. This is all part of your lead generation. So setting up that time that you dedicate every week, you can say it every day. If you're getting started and you really want to jam it, set aside a couple hours every day to do lead generation. And lead generation, whether it's making calls, whether it's sending out notes, whether it's walking a neighborhood, you also have to make sure you have the time to update the database. All right. Eliminate negative, angry, and unhappy people. Life is short. And if people are angry or negative, you don't have to work with them. All right. You can always say, you know what, I don't think I'm the right agent for you. I don't think I'm the right fit. Or, you can come up with lots of ways to say it, but focus and spend time on positive, cooperative, happy people. You will love what you guys do. All right. If you surround yourself with the right people. All right. It's your business and you don't have to take on clients you don't want. If they're not cooperative, they're not going to take your advice. They know more than you do. You do not have to do business with them. That's the beauty of this, is you run your business the way you want to run it. All right, servicing your leads. All right, these are some pretty interesting statistics when it comes down to most agents. All right, so it just is a matter of communicating and servicing and talking to your leads. All right, and if you don't have a huge database, don't let that deter you. All right, you have people and you'd be surprised when you start listing all the people that you can and all the people in those rings we were talking about, how many people you actually have. Now, whether that starts off as 20 people or 150 people or 300 people, it will grow. But it's pretty interesting when you stop and think that 48% of most salespeople never follow up with a prospect. All right. So if you get a prospect, follow up with them. And usually, if you're doing internet leads or something where you're getting, you're not meeting them, they're not a personal referral. Sometimes it takes time. All right. So you have to be consistent. So don't just follow up with somebody one time. It takes more time. 25% salespeople make a second contact and then stop. Okay. Pretty interesting. Only 12% of salespeople make 3 contacts and then stop. So you can see how the numbers go down dramatically. All right. 10% make more than 3 contacts. Only 2% of sales are made when you reach somebody one time. Okay. Or when you reach out to them one time. Only 3% of sales are made from the second contact. And only 5% on the third and 10% on the fourth. Look at the bottom right-hand corner. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. So if you're finding new people, so for example, just as an example, the leads that Aaron and I got from the community project that we worked on the other day, all right, or a couple weeks ago, we've reached out to everybody, all right, at least twice. But this just shows, and we met these people face to face. Every single one of these folks we met, they gave us their contact information and said, yes, we want to be followed up with. Now, there were a handful that said, no, we don't. And then some that didn't say either one. So we're following up with them as well. But when you stop and think about it, that means when you're dealing with a cold lead, which is that outside ring, 80% of the business is going to come if you make somewhere between 5 and 12 contacts. All right. So these are statistics. Take them with what you will. And again, it depends on the group you're focusing on, but these are some really good numbers and you have to be consistent. All right. And I think that's really just what that comes down to. So, converting the leads. All right. So we're talking leads now, which is more of your outside circle, can be the inside circle as well. But really, when you're looking at leads and converting leads, you want to identify what they want and what they need. Use more of a consultative approach, and most important, listen to what they're telling you. Okay. Any questions on anything so far? You guys are awfully quiet this morning. Do we need more coffee? I do. You wouldn't think I do, but I do. All right. So we will keep going. So closing the leads. All right. Constant communication. Again, you will determine what's good. And I think the clients themselves kind of dictate what communication they want. All right. Would you not agree, Erin?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I think isn't it fair to say that a lot of times when it comes to communication with your leads and stuff, they kind of help drive how much communication they want.
Yeah.
We want to stay in constant communication, but they'll kind of let you know. And then also too, ask them, what's the best way for you to be contacted? What do you prefer? Do you prefer me to email you? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to text you? We're in a texting world. I know when I got into real estate, we didn't have texting. It was all phone calls and a little bit of email, but so the great thing is we have many ways to communicate. So ask them what their preference is. If you get somebody that doesn't like to text, don't text them. So keep in contact with them, keep them informed, let them know what you're doing for them. And even if there's no new information to report, touch base. Okay.
I think too, it's important to let them know the best way to reach you. And then texting is the easiest because my phone will not ring if I'm driving. So,
right.
So I hadn't heard from for 6 months, emailed, called, texted, didn't hear from anything. And then out of the blue, they call me, or, 2 years down the road, they're finally able to buy. So staying in contact is really important.
Absolutely. Don't ever assume anything. And the other thing is, don't get worried. Like Erin said, there's times you're texting and emailing people and you don't seem like you're getting anything back. Don't take it personal and don't get discouraged with it because, life happens and somebody may be really interested, looking for the home of their dreams, and all of a sudden they fall off the radar. And you're thinking, okay, did they go find another agent? No, not necessarily. Something in life may have happened. So don't assume that they're great leads. Don't assume they're bad leads. It's all about the communication, and you'll develop those. And some work out, some don't. But that's why we have the database, is to make sure that you keep in contact with everybody and continue to build and just always have plenty of people. There are plenty of people for all of us to work with. For certain. Now, I will say right now in this crazy market, it seems like there's not as many sellers for all of us to work with, but it's a crazy time, but you know what? It'll balance back out again. So the things that we teach you in Rev Up are for a balanced market, for a normal market. And then we try to add in and talk a little bit about the craziness that's happening right now too, just because it's part of what we're working in right now. But these are things that will help your business for years to come. This will help you to grow. All right. Communicate for referrals. All right. No better time to have an opportunity to ask for a testimonial. If you want to ask for referrals, things like that is, when at the close of a transaction, your buyers are happy. They have gotten in a house in a crazy market where they were competing. they're absolutely thrilled. All right. You're their hero. Or a seller right now. You know, you just help them sell their house for most likely more than they were asking for it, which it makes every seller happy. So great time for referrals. You decide what works for you when it comes to referrals. You know, some people are really good at asking for referrals. Other people are really good at, you know, just generating and letting people know that you're always happy and always appreciative of any referrals. So you can be as direct or as not direct as you want, but it's important to make sure that you let clients know that you always accept and appreciate additional business and referrals, and you would love to have more clients just like them. All right, so now on to our creating your online presence. All right, what is an online presence? All right. Does anybody do a lot with social media here right now? Is anybody, I mean, really a lot on, are you on Facebook a lot? Are you on Instagram a lot? I mean, do you do a lot already? All right. I've never been a big social media. I like to keep up with everybody on social media, but I always have figured out, you know what? Nobody cares if I'm having coffee at Starbucks. Nobody cares where I am eating dinner, my kitchen. So I don't have huge, but the younger generation absolutely does. A lot of people do. I mean, not just the younger generation, a lot of people really communicate. And I think with COVID, social media did become more prevalent. So really your online presence is your visibility on the internet. You
Michelle,
want to make, go ahead.
Sorry, you had coffee at Starbucks and didn't invite me.
Well, to be honest, my last Starbucks run was the Starbucks at Harris Teeter, and I was just grabbing a coffee on my way out. So your online presence is also your ability for prospects and clients to find you online. All right. That includes everything from your website to social media platforms, video, and blogs. All right. So you can have a blog, you can do videos if you are like to do, whether you post them on Facebook, whether you post them on Instagram, LinkedIn. All right. If you're focusing on more business side of things, you've got different platforms. If you want to do videos, if you want to get out there and tour properties or do, you know, basic, I mean, you can do anything from seminars, small seminars, advice for people. People are out there, they're looking for stuff. So social media is definitely an area, and creating the online presence can be a major way to bring in new business. All right. It helps you to, you know, generate and cultivate leads. All right. If you, it will help pre-qualify you as a novice or an expert. All right. So the more information you're delivering out there will let people know what you're doing. It's how your clients search and select for really everything now. Everybody's online doing everything. So the more online presence you have, the more people will be able to find you. All right. Here's some good statistics. 1.5 billion users on Facebook and Instagram. All right. So again, comes down to having a simple plan, basic, whether it's, 3 likes a day, 3 comments a day, and 1 post. All right. So commenting on other people's stuff, liking other people's stuff, and then doing your own posts. All right. So, and make this part of your lead generation, whether it's if you block 2 hours a day for lead generation, you maybe 15 minutes of your social media, the rest. So you can build your plan of how you want to lead generate and who you're communicating with. So whether it's daily or weekly, make sure you're fitting some of this stuff in. Don't let it go to monthly. Don't let it go to every couple of weeks, either daily, 3 times a week, or, I hate to see once a week really isn't enough, but you have to come up with a plan or a time blocking mechanism that works for you. They say, block out your personal time and then block out your lead generation time, then add everything else in after. Lots and lots of platforms to choose from. You can do lead generation that is that you pay for. All right. So whether it's Google ads, whether it's Facebook ads, I mean, there are ways that people are doing a tremendous amount of business, bringing in lots of leads through those posts. All right. And then Sync has the ability for, if you set it up and you're doing some advertising on whether it's Facebook or, you know, some of the other platforms, that then when you get leads, you can actually, they'll dump right into Sync for you. All right. So if you get somebody that responds to an ad that you're doing, but keep an eye on, you make sure you know your budget and what you can spend on your marketing before you get involved with any kind of paid advertising on social media. All right. You can do a lot of it on your own without paying. But I know you get results more when you do paid advertising. All right. But you've, again, consistency. It's got to be long-term follow-up. You can't just, I mean, people that'll contact you online, those are usually colder leads. They're reaching out. And remember that when if somebody reaches out to you on social media, they may be interested tomorrow, but they may have also accidentally or purposely contacted 3 or 4 other agents. So there's competition. So you just have to remember the consistency is going to be what makes you stand apart. They might call or communicate with 2 or 3 agents about a particular property they saw. But if they get 3 answers, and then nobody follows up with them, and you're the only one that touches base with them again in a few days to see if they had all their questions answered or if they need anything else, you'll be the one that stands out. So be different. Make sure your consistent communication and your consistent follow-up are there. All right. And again, results will vary depending upon the platform and what you're doing. Keep track of what you're doing. All right. Keep track of numbers. All right. How many leads did you get from this particular ad that you did on Facebook or this post that you did? Ask questions, engage people. All right. But keep track of which platforms, keep track of what activities in general, whether it's online presence, marketing, walking neighborhoods, calling, introducing yourself. Keep track of what's working, where your leads are coming from, so that you know where to focus more of your energies as you go forward. All right, because it does change. All right, any questions? All right, so can anybody tell me what we have right here, what this represents? This is our motto, one of our mottos. This is our lead generation. This is one of the most important things we can do for our business. So this is 3 calls. All right, this is your one habit. This should be 3 calls. Ideally, this is daily. Make 3 calls a day. All right, add 3 people to your database and 6 handwritten notes. Okay. Any questions?
Quiet.
I'm sorry?
I said this group is so quiet.
I know. I see their faces, so I know they're awake.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So with the handwritten notes, how are we supposed to get their address for it if they're not willing to give it to us?
Well, if they're not willing to give it, then go ahead, do email or texting. All right. But if you have the opportunity to get it, some people won't. But keep in mind, these calls could actually be to friends or family, somebody you do have an address, a phone number for, or excuse me, a mailing address for, but nobody writes handwritten notes anymore. So when you think about ways that you're going to stand out from the crowd, handwritten note is great. It's not always doable, just when you can. So it's, you might make, you might make 3 calls today or to 3 people you already know, and they're in your database. But then when you go out, maybe you meet somebody at Starbucks, maybe you meet somebody at a restaurant that you go sit down. You might be talking to the waiter or the waitress and have a conversation. You gather some information. So then you're adding people to your database. So everywhere you go, think about the fact that you're meeting people. Those are people that are potential people for your database. So the more outgoing, the more conversations you have with people, the more people know what you're doing. Again, it's easy for them to say, hey, just give me your business card. I'd love to send some information to you. That's when you can go back and use that script about, from time to time, I get information or come across information that's useful in the Fort Mill area, I'd be happy to send it to you so you can gather some information. People are a little bit more, withdrawn. I won't say withdrawn, but they're a little more likely to give you phone number or email addresses than personal. You can, if they own their home, you have a ballpark of where they live, a little bit. I mean, honestly, I kind of cyber stalk people. I'll look on Facebook for them, try to figure out where they live if I can find them. I mean, you can also, with your MLS access, you can check tax records. You can get mailing addresses for people. One of the tools that you'll be able to use through the MLS is a program called RPR. A lot of this stuff is public records. Now, if they rent, then no, they're harder to find addresses for. But yeah, you can sometimes, sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't. Does that help?
Yep. Thank you.
You're sure welcome. Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap? Okay. Well, happy Monday. You guys kill it this week. If you guys have any questions at any time, please let me know. You can find me. I can give you my phone number, my email address. You can find me on, the one login, and we've got all of our company information. But if you guys have questions, just let me know. I'm happy to help in any way I can. And you guys just have an awesome week. Kill it. If you need my number, 704-507-6781.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys. Have a great week.
You
Happy
too.
November.
Yes. Thanksgiving any minute.
Yes, Turkey Day. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.